One of the best things about being on the road full time is all of the really interesting new places that you get to find along the way. In this video, I'm going to show you some of the ways that I find interesting new places. One of my favorite ways of finding oddities along the road is a website called Atlas Obscura. Now this is a collection of just the wackiest things that you can find. For example, my ex's grandpa owned a hatchery in Winlock, Washington, and he decided to create the world's largest egg. This is a giant fiberglass egg. You can see it from Amtrak if you're going from Seattle to LA, and it's just one of the items, or the type of item, that you're going to find on Atlas Obscura. Today I'm at one of the spots that I found, and it is a topiary garden in the middle of Columbus, Ohio. So without looking it up, can you tell what famous painting this topiary garden depicts? I'm going to tell you in a second. This topiary park is a reinterpretation of the painting A Sunday Afternoon on the Isle of La Grande Jatte. I think that's might be how you pronounce it, kind of, by Seurat. He is the inventor of pointillism, and the Columbus resident who decided to create this painting as a park, James Mason, he thought it was funny to have a landscape of a painting of a landscape. And so he and his wife created this park. Another way I find interesting places along the way that I wouldn't have known about is kind of weird. It's actually Pokemon Go. On Pokemon Go, they have Pokestops and gyms, and all of those are points of interest. I'm not sure what map they use to populate the game, but they're always interesting places. For example, there's a Pokestop right here called A Sunday Afternoon in the Park. I have found so many really great places just from playing Pokemon Go. Now, I don't play it obsessively, but it is just a really fun thing to do as a full-time traveler on the road, because it does point out things that I wouldn't have known were there. Favorite ways of finding points of interest along my route, if I'm sitting down and planning out my route, is to use Google Maps. I prefer to use it on my computer at maps.google.com. You can also use your Google Maps app on your phone. I just prefer the larger screen. And so I was going from Niagara Falls to Columbus, Ohio. So, Niagara Falls, I'm going to start there. I'm going to go to directions. I'm going to go to Columbus, Ohio, and I'm going to switch them because I'm going from Niagara Falls to Columbus, Ohio. One of the things that you can do is go to options and avoid highways and tolls if you want to. I prefer to avoid the interstates if I can. That isn't giving me a very good route, so I'm going to undo that and undo that, and that's going to give me these alternates. And I'm going to look at this one and see, even though it's an hour and a half longer, it still looks more interesting to me. It looks like it goes through national forests. Yes, Allegheny National Forest. And so I'm going to just zoom in to see what is of interest along this route. And part of that is just like, where am I going to need to stop? This doesn't look like it's too far, so I'm going to look somewhere in here to see if there's anything of interest to stop and do, or stop and see. See, there's a little park. Here we go. This is what we're looking for. The Zippo Case Museum and Store. Something really funky like that, where you've got, look at that, it's got 4.7. So if you hover over the name, you're going to get the star rating and the reviews. So 4.7 stars out of 5 is really good, almost 1,000 reviews. So it's not like only a few people liked it. And if you click on it,
You're going to get more information over here on the left. If you click on the photos, you're going to get a lot more photos so that you can kind of see what to expect. It looks like a very odd place to visit. And I really didn't know anything about Zippo lighters, and so looked like a interesting place to stop, and nice and clean, and just, you know, some place that I could learn a little bit more. So I did end up stopping there. I'm going to go back to directions. You can also scroll down and read the reviews. Just know that if you zoom in, you can see what's around, and depending on how big the thing is, so like at this level, I can see that there's a national park that's not very far out of my way. I am still trying to go to all the national parks, so I decided to hit the Cuyahoga Valley National Park. It's one of our newer national parks, and was a great spot to stop out of my way. It wasn't too far out of my way, so it was great. I decided to go through the national forest because I figured that there would be decent boondocking in there, and I was right. There were some pretty good places to stop. So again, you can go along your route, and I decided to go up here. Again, you can hover and see 4.8 out of 5 stars, over 9,000 reviews. That's really good. Clicking on it, once again, you can get more information on your sidebar. Clicking on the photo gives you a lot more photos, gives you a little bit more of what to expect. So people help populate this by leaving Google reviews and leaving their photos. Going back, you can go down to the reviews. You can also see how busy it could be. And you can read a few of the reviews and see if that's someplace you want to go. Hitting back to directions, you can plan out your whole route. The other thing I do is I send the directions to my phone. So clicking that, you can send the directions. I love to do this where I kind of chunk it out and see just how far I want to drive and what kinds of places I can stop along the way.
Another great way to find interesting places is just to stop in and ask people. So if you stop in for a drink or a meal, ask the locals to find out what interesting places they like to go to in their own hometown. I have a friend who actually does all of his travel that way. He doesn't plan out anything. He stops at the next little town, he asks what's around, and then if it interests him, he goes and finds it. I would love to hear in the comments what your favorite ways are to find interesting places. Let's learn from each other. If you liked this video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel and hit that notification button so that you're notified when I upload a new video. This is Joni with TheGalavan. Enjoy your journey. I found another really interesting place in Ohio. It's called Hartman Rock Garden, and Mr. Hartman started building things in his yard out of rock in the 1930s when he lost his job in the Depression, and he just pretty much didn't stop until he got a job again, and so there are all these interesting structures all over the yard.